welcome to another installment of our weekly podcast, our video podcast, Radio Ranch Cast. Just life around the radio station, as I've seen it, as other people have seen it in the past, and the current, what we expect in the future. And Kelly McCoy and Dodger join me on each and every one of these broadcasts, which I appreciate that too. How y'all doing today? And our special guest spent a hunk of his life, I guess probably a third of his life, at the radio station. That will be our friend Big Al McClure. Let's welcome Big Al McClure.
Hey there.
How you doing, buddy?
Here.
Yeah.
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Better than I deserve.
Oh, you better than I deserve.
That's the Dave Ramsey. I'm stealing it.
Yeah, you grabbed it, didn't you? Big Al, you was at the radio station when I got there in 1985. When did you, well, you give us a little history. You and Kelly McCoy have a history as well, getting into broadcasting, don't you?
Yeah, she and I both attended Chattanooga State, fell in love with the radio station they had there, and I made a tape, brought it down to the radio station, and got an overnight gig on an AM radio station. But I was happy to get on their air, and I left a really good paying job. And I changed my name from Al to the Night Owl. Everybody had to have a handle, you know, because we played real good songs like Barry Manilow, Lionel Richie. It was good, you know, but it was a contemporary station.
What job did you leave? What good job did you leave? Can you say?
I was working in the office at McKee Foods, teaching all new employees orientation.
Wow.
I started out there as a janitor, cleaning the floors. I got into the office, and then I said, I want to go salary. They said, well, finish your education. That's how we ended up at Chattanooga State. Huh. And then I changed careers. And I tell you what, overnights are just grueling. You know, I was late 20s, and but I wanted to work on the radio. And you know what? Back then, the radio, not saying that it does now, but it was full of personalities, you know. And one was on the AM station where I work called David Hughes.
Oh, yes.
And he would bring a big notebook every night of jokes. And he would be prepared when he got on the air to be funny, be cantankerous. He acted like he was a mean dude, but he was just a sweetheart of a guy. Yeah. And he had his own chair. Yes. And so he would roll that chair out. I'd roll mine in about midnight. And then when I got off the air, David Carroll was in the other room. He was doing, KZ106. You know, that's back in the days of Eric Page, Gary Jeff Walker, the Night Stalker, Mike Allison. And then Scott Chase came around, and it was great. Y'all created the Morning Zoo. Good Lord, that thing was good. Yeah. Man,
there's Val Tips right there. Let's. I got to get my glasses on, see if I can see. Can I figure out who's who and where's where?
Yeah.
There's Page, your bottom left. You're right behind him there, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. And right to his right is Gary Jeff Walker.
Yes, Gary Jeff Walker. He was. I've gotten to know him, and what a great guy. He finally got fired because he kept going to sleep on the air because he was a guy that liked to hang out, and he was a social butterfly.
Oh yeah. Well, the back of the board inside the KZ106 studios was a unusual place. I'll just say that.
You mentioned some of these personalities, Alan. I'm just kind of curious, both you and Scott, and I can Kelly, you could answer this as well. How in the world do you guys keep your jobs back then? With all that was going on back then, I'm amazed about how the longevity of all the personalities and all the DJs just stayed forever, and despite the fact of what the shenanigans that went on behind the scenes.
No cell phones, for one thing, I think.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, we started out with Bloomington Broadcasting, which is kind of like a family-run outfit. And it was they treated us really well, and we all kind of started under that umbrella, and it evolved to Citadel and then whatever else, and so, as the corporate goes along, there's different rules and things change, and it's but we stayed because we were dedicated to what we did. We loved what we did, and we were truthful with each other. We worked hard, and we all wanted to be successful, and I think that's the recipe right there. Scott's been a great leader. Kelly's been there forever, a rock. You guys are the personalities of KZ106. And the longevity is just unbelievable. But Scott treats people fairly. He's smart. He's open-minded and fair. And that's a lot of good qualities. So when you got a leader like that, it's pretty easy to keep your job until you change formats.
There's always that.
Yeah, that always is kind of a killer, but things happen. But I worked at KZ for a good while, And then I went into sales. We were at Fantasy 2000. That's a nightclub doing an air guitar contest. Imagine this now. The dance floor would rise up and be lighted, like the John Travolta movie that you dance around. Hey, well, this is where we had air guitar. And the sales manager, Chuck Wilkins, came up to me and said, "Hey, man, how would you like to make some money?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I did it. I went into sales. And I had an edge on it, I thought, because, well, I know how radio works. And all I have to do is go out and talk about KZ106, one of the top radio stations in the market, and sell it. And I did a real good job and really started making some good money. So we would, after work, we'd have the Love Boat over the intercom. Somebody would get on there and say, actually, we called it the Drink Boat.
Yeah.
Like the Love Boat. And so we'd start getting on the intercom at the end of the day. We all go down to a place called the Loft, which is a restaurant, and the radio station had a trade there. Ho, 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 ho. We go down there, and we meet other people from other radio stations down there, US 101, Light Mix 105, and we got to fellowship, so to speak, with other radio stations. So the lady from US 101 called me and said, "Al, how would you like to be the sales manager at US 101? Well, I thought it over, and then I actually told Danny Brown and Chuck Wilkins. They said, "What would it take to keep you here?" Well, I'd gone through a divorce and didn't have the wife any longer, and I thought, I want to go back in the radio. And I think Scott was in that process, I'm sure. And they offered me a job doing middays and being the promotions director. And I was going to make about what I was making in sales. I thought, well, shit. Well, shoot, this would be really a fun gig. I mean, being on KC106, you were a rock star, and still are, guys. People know you. We're out in the community a lot. You had the KC106 wings we put on cars, the KC106 gold card. What a great marketing idea that thing is. No People doubt. Winning prizes, and it makes a person who gets one a part of KC106. And then there's a lot of benefits about it. So I did that for a good while, and I had a ball. And then the guy down the hall at GT108 left town. He was the program director.
Was that John R. Whalen? Yeah.
John Whalen.
John Whalen.
John Whalen. And that station operated on 3 jukeboxes. They're long cases, and they had CDs in them. And when you programmed the music of that station, you had to make sure you weren't going to play a song out of the same jukebox because they didn't have time to go down and grab it and then put it on. But anyway, that was just a unique thing about it. So I took the job and did mornings. And I had occasional few partners, one of which was Dale Deason. And we just had a great time in the morning. It was fun oldies, 60s and 70s. And there again, the morning show, it's hard to get up in the morning, everybody's done it sometime. It's hard to get up, but I enjoyed it greatly. And I was very grateful for the job. We had a lot of fun.
Who was on that station then? When you were doing mornings, who else was there?
Susie Luther did middays. And Mike, not Mike. Oh, I can't. He's a big guy. He's over at Sunny right now. Chris. Dale.
Dale Mitchell.
Dale Mitchell. Yeah. He was working in Atlanta and came up this way, needed a job. He had a big voice, Atlanta market, snagged him. We had a really good team. And then I don't think there was anybody on at night. It was just music and drops. And they stayed there for a long time. Susie got lured away to Atlanta for a while, worked in Fox.
Yeah.
Right.
And then she came back. And how they snagged her is they listened to our market and listened to her, and that's how they got her. And so worked there quite a while. Then we changed formats, and I moved on and went to US 101 for 4 years. Worked afternoons. That was a hoot. I tell you what's major difference between working country music and rock and roll is that country music, the artists want to talk to you. They want you to talk about them. And rock and roll is kind of like they may give you an autograph, and it's a little bit different. Nothing wrong with that. But that was the kind of thing that I liked working about US 101s. We got to meet stars all the time. In fact, I'm going to tell you one little story.
Yeah.
Nashville's just up the road. You got a big stick country radio station getting 25 shares, that kind of stuff. So when an artist cuts their record, they go on a radio trip promotion. The first radio station they ever stop at is US 101. So when they come to US 101, they had a conference room there. They come in for the staff and play a few songs acoustically. Then we take them over to the studio, have a little talk with them, and for the first time ever, they get to hear the song on the radio.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's very cool. That's
That
very
was
cool.
Eric Church, Annabella, Lady Annabella. I mean, just goes on and on and on came through there and did that. And that was a lot of fun. So much fun.
Eric Church, cool as he seems.
Yeah. I mean, he's nice. That's the one thing about all these people, you know. I don't care if it was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, very approachable, aren't they?
Yeah, because they know that's their bread and butter. You know, they know their listeners are what makes them. And so they're out there to get a shot. So they get the big shot at US 101, and then they go on to other radio stations. So enough about them, because Casey's done so many great things over the year. We show you the foul tips. We have concerts all the time. I remember Night Ranger came to the radio station one time. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
That was a long time ago. Leonard Skinner to the Walden Club.
Oh,
yeah. I've talked a little bit about. Maybe I have, or maybe I haven't on this. Yeah, that was so cool. We worked it out with Brusco Bar Entertainment, Charlie Brusco, managing Leonard Skinner. They came in. We gave all the tickets away, 106 of them, and they went to an undisclosed location. The location was the Walden Club. People had never been there, didn't even know what it was or where it was. And then 3 members of the band played an unplugged set. That was pretty epic right there. Pretty memorable.
I was sitting on that ledge out at US 101, just minding my time before I went on the air, and a car pulls up. Who is it? A couple of guys with Leonard Skinner trying to go country. Yeah, I forget who the 2 were, but I thought, that's so cool. I'm sitting here on this bench with a couple of guys with Leonard Skinner. I can't believe it.
I think probably the brothers, wasn't it? Probably it would have been Johnny and Donnie, I believe.
Yeah. They released a couple of hit songs. I wouldn't call them hits, and but it didn't go anywhere, and they kind of faded out. But some of the great things I liked about KZ106, one of the biggest memories is that right there.
Man. Yeah,
Studio in the sky. Yeah, that's Jeff Cooper on the right, who's passed away, but he was our dear friend to all of us.
oh yes.
What did he do nights? I forget what shift he did.
He did originally. I don't. Did he start? Did he start on GOWAM too? I'm not sure.
Yes, he did. And then he moved over to KZ, and he was doing overnights, and then he got moved up to 10 to 2 at night, and I moved over from GOW, and we kind of followed each other, for a while, and then I finally left for a few years. But yeah, Super Cooper.
Yeah, I forgot you worked on. Yeah, I forgot you worked on GOW. What shift did you work, Kelly?
Pretty much all of them. I was a morning show co-host for a while after Dale and Gary left. I was basically fill in. If somebody was on vacation or whatever, I'd pop in and do middays, and primarily just work the weekends. But yeah, like you said, once you get in radio, you'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, you do. You do. You put in your time, but and you develop a craft. Another thing, I was talking about the 80s and personalities, and then in the 90s and even today, but back then it was a lot of personality radio, and you weren't limited to how long your break's going to be or what you had to say, the liners you had to say. You could do bits and have a lot of fun, and some people did real good at it. I mean, and you guys still your morning John Boy and Billy are funny as crap. And then you guys during the day are good. Your music. I mean, it's legendary. It's just legendary, and that's the way I tried to be on the radio station. It was not just a guy, reading. I hate it when somebody's on the air. They go, they just got a survey on this. Well, don't put it that way. Just talk to me about it.
Yeah. All right.
And Dale Deason taught me a lot about that as well. Being a partner in the mornings. That's just another animal when you have somebody with you, and you have to be creative together and share. But it's fun, and engaging the listeners and having them on the air. So it's their radio station while you still play the music. I just really enjoyed that. And so it was 2008. Recession came. I was at Clear Channel. They bought way too many radio stations. Had so much money that they need to pay people, and so they started cutting people. Cut. And of course now, because there's you can do voice tracks that allowed somebody to be in multiple markets doing one market doing multiple markets, and so they just weeded people out, and I lost my job.
Then you went into sales again. You went back into sales again.
Judd Mescon. I had to be off 9 months, but I got paid. And Judd Mescon called me and says, "Hey, I hear you need a job. How about I come work in the WRCB, Channel 3?" And I thought, "Oh wow, I'm coming." So I went over there and talked and found out it wasn't WRCB. It was Retro TV. And retro TV is oldies TV, you know.
Mhm.
And so I thought, boy, this is a challenge. And the commercials are $5 a pop. Well, when I learned that, I went home and talked to my wife about it. She said, Al, you ought to become the retro man. I said, the what? He said, the retro man. So I sent in a slide of the retro man. I don't know if you have it there, but what I did is I dressed up in a bow tie, an orange shirt, a black coat, and I would do these silly 15-second spots about being the retro man, and here's why you ought to be watching the TV. Well, I go into Crystal or something later on. After it aired so many times, people began to recognize me and call me retro man all the time. So it was kind of a fun gig, but I wanted to sell Channel 3 because I was selling $5 spots and they're selling $400 spots. A lot of big difference there. But a lady I was working with, Jerry Young, she'd worked at Channel 9 for years and now was at 3. She got an offer to become the marketing director at EPB and took it. And I said, don't forget me, whatever you do. Don't forget me. Well, about a year later, when they got enough subscribers at the cable system, I got a call from Via Media, who worked for EPB, and I had an interview. And I've been at EPB selling advertising on their cable networks now for the last 9 years. So that's the story of my life.
Oh, there's other stuff. I remember one time in the Lookouts game. Let's bring up the Lookouts game.
Are you going there? Are you going there? Really?
Can we go there? You went there.
I don't care. I was throwing out the first pitch of the Lookouts games, and we had to wait in line. Some other people doing it too, and wait in line. And I had to go to the bathroom, pee. And when we got done, I ran up the stairs, and the entry to the men's room and the entry and the exit to the ladies' room are side by side. Well, I took the wrong one, and they had something there that looked like a big urinal, and I started to let loose. And then a girl I know walks in. She goes, "Al, what are you doing?" I said, "What are you doing here?" And then I realized my error, and she ran out.
I was out there. She goes, "Man, you'll never guess. Al's peeing in the sink."
I think that's actually in a book somewhere. Somebody wrote about Engel Stadium. I believe that it is. But anyway, it was funny. Whatever. You know, you make mistakes. So that definitely was one. Some other fun times were, there's the retro man right there. Yeah. I make this big cheesy grin, these big black glasses, and act stupid, but it seemed to work, and it actually marketed the TV channel pretty well until the TV channel from Retro, they lost all of their programming, something from Canada, and it was just awful. But that was fun. That was fun.
What about raft race days, man? Or going out on and you're the guy that really got us going out on the river and doing broadcasting from boats. We had a couple of boats that had big boats. The guy that owned the beach club, what's his name? Rob
Wickner.
Yeah.
He had a boat, and then we won a bird's boat from Budweiser, I think, sometimes too.
Yeah, KZ106 on the loose on the lake.
Oh,
and, yeah. And so I don't know how you let me do it. I did all the broadcasting out there, and all these people were imbibing and diving into the water. And I would do a break and jump in the water, come back. One day we were out there, and some dark clouds gathered, and actually a little tiny thing of lightning hit our antenna, but we didn't go off the air or anything, but scared it. You know what? So that was just, I thought, where else can you broadcast on a boat and just party down and blasting KZ106 and other boats tied to us and be on the radio and get paid for it?
Yeah. We have a bunch of people that tie up with us, man. It would be a party.
Oh, yeah. Now, the raft race, I never actually got on a raft. I was there, but it was a big event of people building all these rafts to go down the river, which never would happen today.
No.
Because they were tied together, and people were drinking a lot in hot sun, and it was, oh boy. Before that, there was a great balloon race that was somewhere around St. Elmo or so, where they had big hot air balloons. I was not with KZ106 at that point.
I saw pictures, though. It was cool.
Yeah, I remember before I was working over there, I was driving down Udall Ringgold Road, and David Carroll signed on with FM. And later that day, I was driving, or not that day, maybe a little later, and I heard Alabama on there. I thought, well, they play Allman Brothers, and boy, it fit in just like a glove. But David Carroll, he did these great bits all the time, the news you need to know or something like that. He did a lot of really good stuff, and I was really sorry when he left, but man, is he good on the news today? I mean,
he is. Yeah, what a career he's had, man. Woo.
He's such a humanitarian as well. You know, he's just a kind person. So, but you know, and then speaking of morning shows, that zoo was just a great idea. Crazy, so many characters. KZ106 Morning Zoo. Yeah. Oh, there's me.
You and Coop. And that's at the SunTrust property at the lake.
Yeah, that's right.
We had company picnics out there.
Yeah, Coop again. Look at those legs of mine, man. How nice are those? I just wasn't wearing my gold chain that day. I don't know what the deal was.
But you probably had Aramis on, I'm guessing.
We did.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. No, we did. Who was the guy who used to kill me all the time about that? He's not with us anymore. Parker Smith.
Yeah.
He talked about me on the radio with another radio station about my gold chains. He ragged me. That's only because he liked me and wanted to be like me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the zoo just a minute. You know, Dancing Dorothy. She's not with us any longer. But who Keisha Lips was?
That wasn't Mary Dabney. She was Ophelia Buns.
Yeah.
No. Oh, who was Keisha Lips?
I don't know.
Maybe I made that one up then.
I don't know.
Ophelia Buns. Okay, well that's as good as Keisha Lips, so whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of similar.
And Shaver was Polycopter.
That's right. I forgot about that. In fact, earlier today, I looked up a beanie copter, and they're still out there. We had promotional KZ106 beanie copters that were given away because he was Wally Copter.
Right.
And they had a symbol in there. They'd bang. And remember the wake-up calls they would do?
I do.
They'd call somebody up, and they'll scream at them, "Wake up!" And, of course, the person on the other end didn't know what in the heck was going on because they got nominated for a phone call.
Yep.
So that was good stuff, man. That was good stuff.
David Earl, Dammer, Randy Ross, all in there on the Morning Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah, it was real good. Remember we did the pennies for Vicky?
I do.
And that was a whole station campaign for a lady who was in our sales department that passed away with cancer. And we would go from lots of locations collecting a whole bunch of pennies. That probably was not the best idea, pennies, but because it take a whole lot to make $1. But we're out there with our hearts doing what we could to remember her and to collect money for, I think, the Cancer Foundation. And we collected out a whole bunch of pennies.
Well, I think it was a quest for 1 million pennies, and we got to 1 million pennies by like midday. Like 10:30 or 11, we got to 1 million pennies. And it was a massive success the first year. And we thought, man, we'll keep doing this every year. But we didn't realize that people save their pennies, and once they get rid of the pennies, they haven't got a whole lot of pennies to give the next year. They've already given them away. And so we had to do other promotions and to help that charity. It was a good charity.
You know, one of the things that we went through is in this time period was there actually was some vinyl at KZ106 when I was there. On the left-hand side, we play some album cuts sometimes. But we got our 45s in, and we put them on a cart. And you know how the cart works. You plug it in, push the button, plays, and then recues. And then I remember saying, now I'm going to play Bryan Adams on a CD.
Yeah.
And hit the button.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was some. And then came audio voice tracking. Or actually, not voice tracking, but doing our production by not using tape. Yeah. And then the SANS system came in. And that was a system where we all went digital. And that's the day radio changed.
Yeah.
You couldn't seg away a song anymore. You know, you didn't have to be there. And I know that it's important to do. And I can say definitely, I get it. But the old times of being able to segue a song from one to another and go, man, that sounded cool.
Yeah.
Ended. We don't have that opportunity anymore. But that's just the way it's all going, and that's fine.
And technology is, there's a lot of people ask me about that all the time. How's radio different now than it used to be years ago? Well, there's a lot about it that's just the same. I mean, you go out and meet somebody, you put something together on the radio, you talk about a community event, you have some jokes that you tell, all that's the same. It's a lot of the technology surrounding what we do that's changed. You go from records and tape to computers and having everything recorded one time. A lot of it's made it easier, though, to be honest with you. You can actually concentrate on what you're doing rather than making sure that you got all your ducks in a row as far as making the radio station run. So there's some good that's come with it too, I think.
Yeah, which is what I don't understand completely. I came into the business in '99, so obviously a few years later than you guys. You guys had a little more experience, head start on me. But looking back over what the zoo, for example, using them again, what all was happening in that studio in the morning is just mind-numbing to me, because I sit there and think I'm overwhelmed by the 3 or 4 buttons that I've got to push to do what I'm doing now, and to imagine that I've got 4 people over here doing one thing, I'm doing 3 other things, making sure that we're on the air, queued up at the right levels, next song is ready to go. The multitasking that you guys did, especially in the 80s and into the early 90s, just blows me away thinking about that.
The one thing that was happening in that small control room, and it was small, was David Earl in the morning was smoking. How about that, man? Anybody could smoke in the radio station. It was all good.
And it was shag carpet.
So, man, it smelled like somebody was smoking in there.
Oh, it was awful.
It was because he smoked. Many people did. There's a lot of people that smoked that worked, and you didn't have to walk outside. And then I don't even remember what year it was when they no more smoking in the radio station. You ought to go outside. And of course, people were raising hell, as you would guess that they would. And we got so accustomed to smelling smoke inside. And then suddenly somebody would get even close to the door where a little whiff of it had come inside and was like, oh my God, somebody's smoking near the radio station. Isn't that funny how things change, though?
Thank goodness. That used to kill me. We'd have the staff meetings and Schaefer being there smoking. And then so would the other guys that smoked, and the air was just, thick. And then, the van, the old KZ-106 van, had shag carpet in it. And we get in there and go do basketball games, and we're at foul tips or appearances, people smoking cigarettes. I mean, my gosh, that van could tell some stories. I'll tell you that.
Man, there's I bet that van could. Whew, there's another good reason that we didn't have cell phones and stuff in those days. Yeah, that van could probably tell on all of us. My guess is. I can't speak for you.
Speaking of cell phones, Al, I remember, I think you were the first person, this was when you were in sales, you got the bag phone installed in your, was it an Acura?
Yes, it was an Acura.
Oh, yeah, I had a red Acura. Actually, I had my own, because of the bag phone, it inspired me to get a phone that was installed in my car.
Yeah.
And I would actually, on Missionary Ridge around town, just pick up the phone and act like I was talking with someone. So I was Joe Cool. I was single, red Acura, and I had a phone. Yeah, that's something. And then when we got out of the bag phones, we had the brick phones, the big brick phones that we would do remotes about. Here's a cool thing too to remember about the Bessie Strut and other places. We'd use that cart. Yeah, that was a push cart. It had an automobile battery in it for electricity, I believe. And then we had a Marty in there, and we could and an antenna, and we could push this cart anywhere we want to and do live broadcast.
We could. There's a picture floating around out there somewhere where you're in it, I'm in it, Cooper was there. Mary or Ophelia Buns was in that picture. I think maybe Wendy was in that picture too, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't. I could not find it. I looked all over for it. I remember pushing that cart one time doing a remote downtown. It was a restaurant of some sort, and they wanted me to talk about their food. And I was talking about their food, and I said, also, their gyros are really, really good. And I get off the remote, somebody, Al, that's a gyro, not a gyro. Oh, yeah. Well, you make mistakes.
Talk about your boys, man. You got a couple of sons that just done the stuff, man. Talk about them.
Well, I got one's 27. He did 4 years in the military, and which was in California. How bad could that be? Camp Pendleton. He's a Marine, but now he's retired. Not really retired. He did his 4 years. He's here. He's got a little boy, almost 2.5. And he now is a recruiter. He gets people hired and makes good money being a recruiter for people looking for somebody to work. My young son Jake, that was Jackson was talking about. Jake, he he grew up playing some soccer. And one day he said, Dad, I don't want to play soccer anymore. And he was really good at soccer. I said, well, okay. You don't play football. All right. Next thing I know, he's playing a little bit of football, and then he's kicking the ball. And by his junior year, he was kicking the ball high, so high it went above the lights of the high schools, and the guys couldn't see it. And when it came back down, they'd always fumble. And so he started going to these kicking camps, Cole's kicking camps, and he got nationally ranked at 10th for punts. Anyway, make a long story short, he graduated from East Hamilton and started getting offers from colleges for kicking. And he went around to several, and we went to Tennessee, and everybody wanted to be a walk-on for a kicker because they're not going to pay. They went to Oklahoma State, and they offered him a full-time a gig kicking in the Fulbright scholarship. He graduates now this December with 2 degrees. I haven't paid a dime for college.
Wow.
And it's been a great experience. He'll be on ESPN this Saturday. I see him on TV every weekend. All his games are televised. You cannot imagine. Years ago, I would sit and watch people playing games, football games, college games, and I go, "How do those boys get in that position? How do you do that?" Well, I found out, and it's such a joy to be able to watch him on TV. It's just, so he's going to be trying out for the NFL. He's going to go to the combine, but if he doesn't, that's fine. He's got 2 degrees and kicks some butt.
Yeah, that's cool. How's your wife?
Good. She and I are having to work out of the house here. She works for Comcast. I work for cable here for EBB, but we're in different rooms, and she's not going to work. I'm going to work. Our building at EBB is empty, and it's about a 7-story building. And so our group of people in marketing, we have 6 cubicles there. So I go to work, but what's difficult is I'm a salesperson. Going into somebody's store with a mask on, they don't want to talk to you. They just went through 6 weeks of not being able to have the business open. They don't have any cash flow. So right now is I'm happy to have a job. I'm extremely happy to have a job. I think will get better because it couldn't get much worse.
Well, on that note, we're not going to end on that note, of course. Yeah, it is. It's a time. It's a time like I've never seen before in so many different ways. It really is. And yeah, we'll come out on the other side, and we're beginning to come out on the other side too, which is good. Which is really good.
It affects so many businesses you don't even think about. As I look out of the building, the EPB, Republic parking lots are empty. Well, they're not making any money. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. We got to get back out there and be healthy, of course, do the right thing. But you're right, without a doubt. Man, what a pleasure, Big Al. Good to see you, man. I just love you. You're just a great guy, and you're just good people. And
I have one request.
Yes.
Can you give me the sign off? This is.
I don't even remember. This is Johnny Olson speaking.
There you go. That would come over the PA system in the radio station every Friday afternoon.
This is Johnny Olson.
Yeah. All right, that's what I need. Okay, I'm good.
You good? Hey, was Kelly a good student? You went to school. Did she do her homework, or did she act up in class a lot of times? Which I'm guessing she probably did.
I don't think we had any classes together, except we saw each other at the radio station.
Okay.
And then we'd sit outside by the right around the corner outside from the elevator there, or the stairwell there, and there were a couple of chairs, and we'd sit there and do homework. But yeah, that was
okay.
That was about it.
How did I not figure this out before? I should have been using this platform to find out as much dirt as possible on the two of you. So Al, feel free to unload on either one of them if you need to right now.
Well, Scott has a saying he likes to say quite a bit. It includes the word funky. What was that, Scott?
Funky like a red hot monkey, man. I used to say it all the time on the radio. I'd have it for a while. Maybe I need to bring that back, man. I need to bring it.
Yeah, and we also started a word called bubbelingus. That just has no meaning at all, but we say. It's like, hello, bubbelingus, or bubbelingus. And I think it really came from the Grease Man. I think he said something close to that.
I think maybe you're right. Yeah.
And then one of my favorite ones was, hallelujah.
Ha!
Ha!
Yeah. Anytime I say hallelujah at a party, the whole crowd would go, ha! And we do it 3 times, and that'd be it.
Yeah. Hallelujah, ha. And we've been at some parties together. We ought to go to one again pretty soon, man. We haven't done that for a while, so let's do that. Yeah. Well, Big Al, thanks for joining us, man, being our special guest today. Kelly McCoy, as always, a pleasure. Doctor, thank you. Radio Ranchcast. We put these out on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. on social media, and we put them on the website. You can, if you missed one, you go to our website at KZ106.com, look under the Rock Pods, and find these Radio Ranchcasts stacked up there. Have a great day. Have a great week. Appreciate you listening to KZ106 and all of our stations on Pineville Road, Radio Ranch.